Dark Force 2 playthrough today with the scenario house cleaning. The situation is that local opposition have occupied a hospital complex on the outskirts of Zaydal, under the theory that hospitals will not be targeted by Allied airpower. So we're going to do this manually through a direct assault. Interesting small scenario centered around a large building complex. Generally great, although combat mission does fall a bit short once we get into clearing large 5-story buildings like this. When we look at the briefing, the plan is a direct frontal assault on the complex, utilizing our overwhelming firepower. Direction of attack will be from the south side of the complex, as the briefing mentions that the main entrance to the east is mined and protected by barbed wire obstacles. Once we get into the complex, things are going to get messy and we'll just have to clear out the main buildings slowly and take our time. There is a series of touch objectives scattered throughout the complex, with the central building being the main objective. A Company, 2nd Striker Battalion, 1st Platoon will be leading the assault, with 2nd Platoon following on in about 10 minutes, which will bring additional squads and some MG teams. For support, there will be a light 60mm mortar, which will become available as this assault develops. In terms of the enemy situation, we know a mix of reserves and militia occupy the complex, and they have at their disposal light anti-tank weapons and heavy machine guns. Exact numbers are unknown though. So this is the map we're looking at. North is to the right hand side there. Our approach will be from the south. You can see the strikers deployed there. The map is basically divided down the middle with a sewage ditch. That'll help us when we approach the complex, which we can see on the right here. Surrounded by a high wall generally, and then we have the main building, the main objective right there in the middle, which is essentially the hospital building. It's got two wings. This is the hospital building over here. We have two wings, the east wing and the west wing, and then various little structures surrounding the main building. We also have a little bit of urban fabric on our approach. This will be handy, as we'll need obviously a bit of cover as we approach. It's also worth noting that a lot of these buildings, as a matter of fact all of them, are only a single story, which will be great to park striker vehicles behind, because they can shoot from behind them because of their height. Here we can see the complex from the east side. That is the east wing over there. You can see all these little structures everywhere. Our approach is from the south, this angle here. And this is another view showing the high wall and the sewage ditch on the south side. This shows well how the approach from the south side looks. We have the sewage ditch right in front of this high wall here. The moment we can get our pixel trip into this ditch here, we should be good to go. There's various openings in the wall already. We'll just have to be cognizant of that. Any sort of firing position here in these buildings is going to be mayhem for us going in there. I think the general strategy is going to be to split 1st Platoon up into the 3 squads plus the HQ. And what we'll do is move 2 squads up into these buildings here, while we move maybe HQ and one of the other squads up here. We'll edge the strikers closer and park them behind the buildings using the actual single-story buildings as cover. And we'll try to just lob off any resistance that's essentially higher than 2 stories in all these, in these buildings over here. Once that's all cleared, we'll see about utilizing smoke to provide just enough cover so we can make an approach. So if we put smoke down here with the mortars that we've got available, we can then move the various squads up and get to the irrigation ditch. From that point, we're just going to move the various squads right up against the wall and see how we're going to execute our breach. Although this looks inviting, the briefing has mentioned the barbed wire and the landmines, so that is a no-go for me. I'm also a little bit concerned that any sort of resistance in the 1st or 2nd floor that we can't directly see from this side of the map, that's going to be very difficult to deal with the moment we get through these walls. I'm not sure how we're going to get across that open ground there. We get the squads moving out first things first. It does not take long for the strikers to pick up the first few contacts in those upper stories. There's quite a few trucks standing around through the gaps in the south wall. There's the odd SPG-9 round heading our way. Nothing to be too concerned about just quite yet. And our first casualty, first squad having one of the pixel trippers standing out the front of the building. Mark 19 grenade launchers that some of the strikers have worked very well for this application. So that's the HQ striker there moving up on the east side. That puts all the squads where we want them for now. HQ is moving to the front there. Everybody continues to lay down fire into the hospital building for anything that pops its head out. We even managed to get a javelin off. Next round, and it's time for the strikers to move up behind the buildings. Get them positioned. Getting a bit bogged here in the little fields in the front. Good positioning for the strikers to shoot over the buildings. Everything goes pretty smoothly this early on. We still have a lot of buildings to work with before we get to that open ground. Quiet. Must have eliminated all the forward-facing OP4 in the higher floors. Your runners leaving the rooftop position. Typical. I start banking the charge forward with the squads and completely forget about the smoke. Note on the right that the squads there have a very short distance to cover, while on the left there's quite a bit of open ground. East side, short distance. These two squads get to the ditch unharmed. While on the west side, we do take a single casualty, and by some miracle manage to cross that open ground, generally intact. Not great. I managed to charge everybody towards the ditch using the gap in the wall as a marker. Thank God for the cover fire from the strikers. Just taking another round to make sure everybody's nicely tucked up behind those walls and doing a bit of finer adjustments. Open ground has been successfully crossed, and we've lost far less pixel tripping than I thought initially. In preparation for entry into the complex, I start blowing some holes in the south wall. Also move the strikers forward. I deem it safe as long as I don't get them exposed through the holes in the wall. The moment we make those breaches in the wall, of course there's some incoming fire, especially from ground and first floors. Here I'm being a bit cheeky and I sneak one striker up on the east flank. The idea being that he can shoot over the wall. Maybe we can pick some off. The wall successfully seems to absorb a few RPGs as planned. Lingering. Not quite yet sure how I'm going to move pixel tripping across that open ground up to the main hospital building. But I can keep making breaches in the wall in preparation. I've come up with a tricky venture. I'm going to load up squads into strikers and then drive them hard and fast up to the building. Hopefully that protects them from small arms fire, although I'll be risking a few RPGs in the process. East side, 2 strikers getting ready to be loaded up with the HQ and one of the squads. They're going to be our initial entry team. Good timing for the reinforcements to arrive. Second platoon with 2 MG teams. We're just going to move these guys forward and set the MG teams up to stay in the buildings here and provide covering fire.
Let's roll.
So now having to bring up second platoon up to the walls. We definitely want all our pixel troop and ready to go. At least this time I remember the smoke, so that should help a bit.
Fire for effect, over.
So second platoon moves up the moment the smoke builds. Second crossing, no casualties. So this is it. Striker 1 with breach team or breach squad 1 in. Charge in right into the corner there, the inside corner between the east wing and the main building. Managed to go well, except for the top 4 units of that little building to the back of them. Nothing a Mark 19 grenade launcher can't deal with. On the west side, we're just going to hold steady for the time being. I feel that it is too exposed. It doesn't stop us from taking a few pot shots through the breaches in the wall if we find them. Next round, and the next entry team is going in. This will be HQ. You can also see that first entry squad there moving to the little building. First entry team doing quite well. They are going to assault that little building there and get into a bit of safety. In the meantime, the strikers just keep laying into the central hospital. And now it's time to call in some of the remaining 60mm mortars. This is the gatehouse. I don't particularly want to get Pixel Tripping over there, so hopefully this can take care of it.
Requesting fire mission, over.
Starting to reverse the first wave of strikers back to behind the south wall to the irrigation ditch. They're going to be picking up the next entry teams. HQ deposited on the east wing. They run in and come under heavy fire from the opposite building. This is the first entry team. They're stuck in their little building. They're trying to fire into the main hospital building, east wing over there, trying to support HQ. West wing, and we still haven't committed to entry. This is the next squad's being loaded up for entry to the east side. Time to slowly start applying some pressure on the west side. So I move this one of the squads up to its big opening. See if we can poke our heads over there and see what we find. Then it's time for the assault. So everybody and anybody who has a smoke grenade left pops those over the wall, and we're going in. In the meantime, we're trying to hang on to East Wing, which is coming under heavy fire. These are the two machine gun teams from 2nd Platoon. They're still back at the mission start where they set up the MGs, just providing some cover. Putting some more mortar rounds on the left cluster of buildings in the corner there. Anything I don't want to deal with, I'm just going to dump mortars on it.
Bring us some indirect.
So the action you're seeing now is the full entry to the complex. Smoke is providing cover. We are just moving essentially all infantry teams in, west and east. This is west, going round there, past the gatehouse. Being supported on the right hand side by some Bixel Trippin coming through the breaches in the wall. We also have the strikers moving up right behind them. We do take some casualties here and there. Nothing critical yet. More teams being deposited via striker. Keep trying to support the east wing there. Now it's just all systems go. Got to cross the open and get into the main building with all the fire teams to help it. The little SBG-9 team spotted in the corner there. And between the striker and the mortars, those take care of it. At this point, I think we've successfully made good entry. And my major concern is how are we going to clear out that 5-story building. So we start moving some teams into the main hospital building just to see what we're up against. This is about making sure that as we clear that main building from south in a northerly direction, we've got strikers on either side, west and east, to provide support. The Mark 19 is lethal in this situation. We've managed to secure the east wing and place some squads on 2 of the floors. Moving some of the squads from the west side near the gatehouse there. They're just crossing over into the main building. And then the unfortunate chaos of trying to clear buildings in combat mission. Not the greatest features here, but this is how it goes, I suppose. Let's just say casualties are not going to be avoided. Trying to get right up behind the building, north side. Put some fire into the back there. Oh, so many casualties. North side, back of complex. Still a few holdouts. Getting some of the flanking squads east side here just to start clearing some of those buildings behind. In the meantime, the clearing indoors continues. Up a set of floors, down a set of floors. because of the casualties we've taken in clearing the structure, we call in some mortars, danger close. And here we go. Definitely debatable how effective this is on the roof of that structure. But we're going to throw anything we have left at them to try and reduce casualty numbers. And so it went for a bit. No rhyme or reason. We just threw squads at that building. Eventually got the upper hand. But at some horrendous cost, to be honest. Now looking at that after action report there, we did manage to secure a total victory, which is great. We did touch all the objectives inside the complex. We did also manage to lose 18 men killed, which in my mind is quite a lot. 20 wounded. On the opposite side, the Syrian side, 55 men killed. That was brutal.